Hello, everyone. Uh, let's continue with the chapter on Noah. That is the fourth chapter, and we will enter into the family problems that Noah had in his family. And it is very interesting, and it is quite different from what you would have already known. So, so let's enter into this portion now. Okay, so we'll see the family problems and prophecy. Okay, family problems and prophecy of Noah's life. Okay, so it's a very different and interesting thing, and probably you will be surprised or in some things that we're going to talk about. So God, let's see, let's move ahead. So God uses someone's experience to teach us from right or wrong. So there are many times when we read the Bible or when we see people and we learn from their mistakes and we think that, oh, okay, I'm not going to do this like that person did, or I will do this the way that person did. So we learn a lot of things, and we define, or we decide basis on the basis of what other people have done, learning from their experiences. This is one of the several Old Testament references to have which resulted in intoxication. Okay, resulted from intoxication. In New Testament there is a definite prohibition on drunkenness. So to drink, uh, Bible always talks about not to be drunk. Okay, not to lose control after being drunk. Okay, that's a problem, because you do not know what you are doing, your mind is not working, and you do not know what you do and what are the consequences of that, and later on you struggle with the consequences. So let's see what happens when Noah comes out. After Noah came out from the ark and they all came out from the ark, we see they settled down, and tents, they used to make tents in those days. So they settled down and they started living. Okay, and they started living a good life and enjoying the life, nobody around, not much problem around. So we see that they are living a fine life, and they are having vegetations, they're having everything around them. They're living a happy-go-lucky life here. Okay, so Noah was a godly man, we know. So what happened once? This is a story that is given in the Bible. It could have been hidden, but I believe that it is for the sake of learning that the authors have planned to put this chapter, this portion in the book of Genesis. So we see that Noah, once after they had a good time, they were having probably they were having good time or party or something like that, and they were enjoying. And after that we see that Noah uh, had drunk a lot. Noah, we know that in those days, or in that land, we know that there is a lot of grape wine that the people used to consume. Okay, wine that the people used to consume. So Noah had got drunk on wine and lay naked on in his tent. Okay, so this is something very strange thing that is mentioned in the Bible, and it says that Noah lying drunk and naked in his tent is a shameful spectacle. Okay, so it is actually something shameful when an elderly person is drunk and he's just lying naked on in his tent. Okay, so but it contains some moral significance also. So let's see. Drunkenness is not mentioned as one of the sins in the antediluvian period. Okay, so they used to drink, but Bible later on talks about being drunken as sinful thing. Yes, but Jesus states in Matthew 24 verse 38, they were eating and drinking. Okay, they were eating and drinking in those days. Antediluvian period, they were eating and drinking in those days. So God shows that the people will be eating and drinking, and the judgment will suddenly come. That's what is mentioned. So we see this is the kind of life that God is talking about, Jesus is talking about later on. So let's look at some of the lessons that we learn from Noah's experience. So what happened over here? Let's see what happened over here. It is let's okay, let's see what the story is first, and then I'll move into the lessons that we can learn. So according to the narrative of the story in our NIV Bibles or the English Bibles that we have right now, it is little different from the Hebrew Bible that is in the language. It is quite raw in that language, little different also in understanding. Okay, so what we see here is it is mentioned that Noah lay drunk, and one of his sons, okay, Ham, one of his sons came in and saw his father naked, and he made fun of it and he told his brothers that his father is lying naked. So we see after that, Japheth and Shem were the people, were the boys or were the sons who moved backwards to taking a bed sheet, taking a covering, and moved backwards, facing their back on their father, and they moved and then they covered Noah and hid his nakedness. That's what is written. And then after that, there is a judgment. There is a, a prophetic thing narrative of Noah upon his sons, where he condemns some acts and everything. Okay, but if you okay, let's deal with the lessons first, and then I will be talking about what actually the issue is here. Okay, so let's look at some of the lessons from Noah. Okay, it is possible to maintain spotless life before godless world and then fall into temptation in his own family life. Okay, so it's very understood, it is very human and understandable that we try to maintain a very spotless life before the people outside the godless world. But what is happening inside our homes? Okay, so we may fall into temptations inside our homes, inside our families, uh, but try to show a very clean and pious and spotless life to the outward world, outside world. Okay, the temptations from within, the second thing we learn is the temptations from within. The person is often more deadly than the ones outside. So people, it's easy to deal with temptations that are from outside, but from within, nobody knows, and you just fall into that temptation. It's more stronger. So long years of spiritual victory does not guarantee that you will be free from sin. Till we are living on this earth, we are living in a fallen world, and anytime we can be tempted, anytime we can fall into sin. So even if you have lived a long life of spirituality or spiritual victory, it does not guarantee that you will always be free from sin. Even in the before death or in the verge of before dying, we just fall into sin. Okay, so it's very normal, it's very real in the living in this sinful world. Okay, so alcohol can bring tragic results to a person and his family. So we have to understand that alcohol, anything that is in excess, be it alcohol or anything. So here in the case of Noah, we can see alcohol, okay, drinking, it brought tragic results to the person and to his family. If he would not have drunk, if he would not have been drunk and lying naked like that, probably things wouldn't have happened in that way. But because it happened, so we can learn that it creates tragic ends, tragic results. We must watch and pray, and so that we may not fall into temptation. So when we pray, we should also be careful of our lives. Okay, so that's what we are saying. So here we see that the Ham, we can also see some characters of his son, the attitudes of his son, and learn from that also. Okay, so Ham shows a coarse disrespect towards his father, revealing his nakedness to his brothers. He should have covered it, but he showed or revealed it, opened it up for people to see. Okay, so that's what he did. That was a characteristic of Ham. Okay, but Shem and Japheth, they even demonstrated noble characteristic by covering their father's nakedness. Okay, so Noah's prophecy, let's look at that. Noah's curse was not against Ham, but Ham's youngest son. If you read that whole prophetic portion where he is blessing and cursing, we can see that Noah uh, did not actually curse Ham, but Ham's youngest son, Canaan. Okay. Why we say that, why it is like that, because we can read the same Hebrew word is used for son and grandson. It is assumed that Canaan uncovered and laughed at Noah's nakedness. Okay, so probably Canaan was the one who uncovered and laughed at Noah's nakedness. Okay, so that is why probably Canaan, because the same word is used for son and grandson. So you do not know whether it was Ham or his son Canaan. Okay. So whether or not Canaan was guilty, Noah's prophecy reveals a common principle. A person's descendants suffer for his sins. So it is a common principle that is seen everywhere, that when a person sins, the consequences are suffered by his descendants also. So Noah's prophecy came true. Okay, we can say that Noah's prophecy came true. Canaan's descendants settled in Phoenicia and Canaan. They became notorious for their moral impurity. Okay, so we can see that later on, whatever Noah prophesied about Canaan of blessings and curses, what he gave to Canaan, it came to happen, and his descendants settled in Phoenicia and Canaan, and they became very notorious. okay, and immoral people, and God judged them for it. Okay, when God judged them for it, when God brought the Semite or the Shem people of Shem under Joshua to that land, and they destroyed, and then they just routed them out. Okay, so a branch of Semite under Joshua punished them for their abominations and subjugated them. Okay, so they were subjugated by the Semites or Shem's people, Shem's lineage. The name Canaan itself means subjugation. Okay, so Canaan, the name itself, it means subjugation, which came into past. So probably Noah's curse was based on the prophetic insight of Canaanites' future moral depravity and on a desire to punish Ham for his disrespect. So we can see probably that was the reason Noah said this curse was because of the foresight that he had, the prophetic glance that he had of the future and of the depravity of their nature. Okay, so the Semites would inherit this. What was the blessing for the Semites? The sons of Shem. Semites would inherit the spiritual blessings. Okay, so cursed was the Canaanites. Then we have the Shemites. The Shemites would inherit the spiritual blessings and bring forth the Redeemer. So Shem means name. Okay, Shem means name. Canaan means subjugation. Shem means name. Okay, so their blessings would make their name great. Okay, they would make name for themselves because God was blessing them spiritually, and God would bring the Redeemer from that. The blessings was that Jehovah would be their God. Okay, so that was a beautiful blessing that Jehovah would be their God always. So the third son was Japheth. Okay, his father was Japheth is the father of Indo-European Aryans. Okay, he is the father of Indo-European Aryans. His name sounds like enlarge or expand, which suggests that the blessing he received would enlarge his territory. He would be having a larger territory. This too was fulfilled in the spread of Indo-European from India all across Europe. So the territory was expanded to a greater levels, where we see from India to Europe, his territory was completely expanded. Okay, so the most interesting prophecy is though that the tent of Japheth will be enlarged, but still they will live under the tents of Shem. Okay, they will live under the tents of Shem because Shem is a blessed descendant. Okay, so this can be seen in the success of the apostolic preaching to the Gentiles. Apostolic preaching in the Gentiles, that means the Shem will be preaching and spreading the gospel and spreading the good news, and the Gentiles will also be under that umbrella. Okay, they will also be saved under that umbrella. So the entrance of man into covenant blessings by accepting Christ. This means that man will enter into the covenant blessings through Christ under the tents of Shem. So this is the place. If you can see over here, you can see easily the area of Shem is light gray area. This is light gray area. Okay, you can see over here this area. So basically, that David and everybody's territory together. It is this area, that is Shem's area. Then we have Ham. Ham has this area over here, the dark side, this side. Okay, Egypt and everything. This side, a little bit over here, a little bit over here, and a little bit over here, Ashur, and all these evil places, if you can say, all these wicked places. This is all Ham's place. Japheth, we can see all this white area, everything that is white. Okay, that is Japheth's area. So its territories are beyond everyone's territories, but they will be under Shem's tent, that is salvation. Okay, so let's move ahead. Repopulation. So I was going to talk to you about something which you might not know. So according to the Hebrew text, it's not something so simple as what is mentioned over here in the happening that happened in the tent of Noah. Okay, so there are many scholars that talk about this, and they say, why would Noah be so angry and curse Canaan or curse Ham just for seeing his nakedness and making fun of it? Actually, at the end of the day, the fault was Noah's. The fault was Noah, that he drank and he lay naked. Okay, so that was Noah's fault and not Canaan's or Ham's fault. Okay, so why would Noah get so angry on Canaan or Ham? So there is no reason for him to get so angry or on Canaan or Ham, because they just saw the nakedness and they just he just made fun of it. That's it. Okay, there was nothing to be so angry about it. So many of the scholars have this view. Many of the scholars have this view. So you may just keep it to yourself, because this is something which people do not know, and they don't probably it's little difficult for to digest also. So probably this is something the scholars, they say that according to the Hebrew scripture that is written over there, it is not so simple as it is put in the narrative of the English translations. Okay, so it simply means that there is something else that is deeper that has happened. So what the scholars are saying, according to the narratives in the Hebrew and according to their researches, they are saying that probably there was a homosexual act that took place over there. So probably seeing Noah naked, okay, probably seeing Noah naked, his son or his grandson, it can be Canaan or it can be Ham, okay, that is not sure, but either of them, they had sex with their father, okay, they had sex with their father, having this immoral attitude, having sex with their father, seeing their nakedness, and after having sex with their father, they went he Canaan or Ham, whoever it is, they went out and even told brothers, I did this, and you also go and enjoy. Okay, I enjoyed, you also go and enjoy. See, Papa is lying naked, you also go and enjoy. That is something happened. And when it was reported to Noah, then it became something very, 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 very sinful, and something very grave, something that Noah actually got very angry and cursed Canaan and Ham for that. Okay, so this is some many of the scholars are with this view, and not just that Ham or Canaan, they saw the nakedness of their father. So just seeing the nakedness would not bring such a curse. So we have to understand that it was something much deeper, and the scholars talk about this incident in this way, which is not mentioned basically, which is actually mentioned in the Bible, English Bibles, very, uh, you know, in a different way, polishing way. Okay, so probably this was not something that really happened, but something deeper happened, as the scholars are talking about. So this was what something I wanted to talk about, which may change your understanding about this curse concept. Okay, let's move ahead now. So we'll talk about the repopulation of the earth. Okay, so from the family, now they moved into a nation. So Genesis chapters 10 and 11. Okay, this is something that we'll talk about now. The focus moves from there now. So we see that it contains a literary pattern of giving a broad picture of historical summary before going back into focus and details. Okay, so we'll have first we'll see the unity of mankind. The writer devotes much time to trace the origin of the nation. Okay, so there is a lot of time that is spent in tracing the origin of all the nations. So the writer also, Moses also wants to tell from where which people group came up. So he was interested in that, and he thought it is important to tell the people from where they actually came from. Okay. So and they were one blood, they were one initially, and gradually they formed into other nations. Okay, that's what the author wanted to tell the people. So the redemption is for all the nations. Okay, which means the redemption is from for all the people, not only the people who are chosen as channels. So we have to understand that as Moses is revealing the whole thing, he wants to say that they all came from one blood, from one family, and then they all scattered into different directions. And this means that when the salvation is coming, it is not only for the people who are chosen, or the Shemites, but it is for all. It is for all the people, all the sons of Noah, and all the people who come from one family, because they are one blood. Okay, so after the description of the scattered families, the story moves to that of the Semites. Okay, so now the whole story will move towards gradually focusing on the Semitic group. Okay, so till now it was on other groups, and then from Noah to the Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and then gradually now it is going to move into Sem, which will bring forth the whole story of the lineages continually and descendants, and then moving on to Jesus Christ. Okay, so the division of the nation began with the confusion of the language at Babel. Okay, so we can see, because we know the story that happened over here. Okay, so what happened over here, we can see now that different, all the three sons moved into different directions. Okay, now the Japhethites, they moved from to north of Babel. Okay, they moved from north of Babel, and they moved towards east west, southeastern part of Europe. So they moved north of Babel and southeastern part of यूरोप. So his descendants, Japheth's के descendants हैं वो हैं Cimmerians, Medes, Greeks. Oh, sorry. Oh, these are Semites. Okay, these are the Semites. We have to understand these are the Semites that I'm talking about. So the Semites moved from north. Wait. There is some confusion. No, that's right. The Japhethites. Okay, so they moved from they moved from north of Babel to the southeastern part of Europe. So they are basically the Cimmerians, Medes, Greeks, Scythians. Okay, so these are the people groups of Japhethites. Okay, so if you see that they moved to Europe and the farther part of Europe. So we are also from the Japhethites. Okay, we are also from the Japhethites because that is where they moved. Okay, Indians. So Hamites, now we'll see Hamites. So several areas, Hamites settled into several areas. The Fertile Crescent, northwest of Persian Gulf to southwest through Syria, Palestine towards Egypt, south into Arabian Peninsula, and southeast of into Africa. Okay, so the people groups that they gave rise to were Canaanites, Egyptians, Ethiopians, and Babylonians. So if you can see, these all peoples were quite a negative group of people who were anti-Semites or anti-Israel. Okay, so Semitic groups. After that, the Semitic group. So these were the Semites were to settle between Japheth and the Hamites in the Arabian Peninsula and Asia Minor. Okay, so these were the we can see these were the people groups that that gave rise to from the sons of Noah. Okay, now let's look at the story of how this Tower of Babel incident took place. So there is one name that is mentioned here, which is a very important name, that is Nimrod. Okay, so Nimrod was a hunter, a king, and a builder. Okay, Nimrod was a hunter, a king, and a builder. The record of the nation gives special attention to Nimrod. So Nimrod is considered to be a very important person in this place. Okay, so he founded the Babylonian. So he's a Canaanite. You can understand he's a Canaanite. He founded the Babylonian kingdom. Okay, and built several cities. Okay, so these, although he's a negative from the negative clan, but we can see that they are very strong and very powerful people. So he built the Nimrod. He built the Babylonian kingdom and built several cities around it. Okay, probably he led people at Babel to the construction of the tower. Probably he was the person who led the people into constructing of the tower. So the Bible uses the same term, okay, the same term as it is used for Nimrod, the mighty men. Okay, the mighty men, as we have read in Genesis 6:4, or heroes, which we'll read in chapter 10, verse 8, and mighty warriors. Okay, so Hebrew word is intensive form of the word valiant or valiant man. Okay, very powerful, strong man, brave man. That's the description. Okay, and he's a warrior and he's a tyrant. Tyrant is somebody who uses power to trouble people, to harm the people or to dominate the people. That's what we can see. So he probably was very famous and very daring in his exploits as a hunter, a warrior, and a kingdom builder. So Delitzsch, we see Delitzsch, he says about Nimrod that Nimrod means we will revolt. That what Delitzsch says. Delitzsch says that Nimrod means we will revolt. He title is given to him by his people. Okay, this title is given to him by his people. It was not his personal name, but it was given to him by his people, and it might be because he was a hunter both of men and animal, and he would enslave even men to serve him and to do whatever he wanted them to do. Okay, so that is why the people named him as Nimrod. Okay, so now we see Babylon or Babel. This is a place of Nimrod's kingdom. Okay, this is a place in Nimrod's kingdom. Later became a symbol of world system in revolt. So Babylon is always considered to be somebody who is a nation who revolts against God, revolts against God, and of the oppressor of God's people. He is the oppressor of God's people. Revelation 18 uses the name for materialistic and ungodly confederation, who overthrows marks whose overthrow marks the final victory of Christ. So we can see even in Revelation, Babylon is used as a materialistic nation or ungodly people group. Okay, so Nimrod is seen as a type of that man of lawlessness. Okay, so Nimrod is seen as a man of lawlessness who will exalt himself as God and head the last God defying empire. So we can see that Nimrod is a person, we can see he's a negative character. He is a very powerful and strong man. He's a man of lawlessness, and he is a person who will revolt and who will exalt himself above God, and he will lead uh, people against God. Okay, so we see after Nimrod, we'll see about how the dispersion took place from Babel. So the ruins of the temple towers called ziggurats are still found in Mesopotamia. So these were the form of pyramids. Okay, these were in the form of pyramids. If you can see this diagram over here, they were like the pyramids built in successful stages. Okay, level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So these are 7 level wala ziggurat. Okay, so there were staircases from outside. You can see the staircases all from outside. Okay, so it led to the top of the shrine. This led to the top of the shrine, and here probably this is a shrine where the probably moon god, most of the time the moon god was worshipped from this place. Okay, this is a spiritual place. This was a for them it was a place of worship. So people will live all down, okay, everywhere, and this will be a place of worship over here. Okay, so others believed, so we can see that some claim that the ruins of Bir's Nimrud, which is 20 kilometers southwest of Babylon, was the tower that was built in the Babel. Others believe that there was an enormous tower. There's one more enormous tower at Etam Menanki. Okay, so it was built over there on it was built on an artificial mountain in Babylon itself. So this temple was for god Marduk. Okay, so the Nimrud is for the Nanna god, or the god that is moon god, and we can say god Marduk was worshipped in Etam Menanki, which is also in Babylon. Okay, so these are some archaeological excavations and archaeological things that have been dug in and found to see that these kind of structures were there. So the account of Babel illustrates that the foolishness of building without God. So they built foolishly without God. God was not in this construction or was not in this building, but they still built this thing. Okay, so let's see now what is happening. That they were driven by pride and ambition, and the Babylonians wanted to make name for themselves. Okay, we know this is the Ham group, the Canaanites. Okay, so these they wanted to be they were proud of themselves, and they were very ambitious, and they wanted to make name for themselves. So it was in direct disobedience of God's command. What they were doing is direct disobedience of God's command, that they wanted the people to live there within that ziggurat in unity. Okay, in unity and with centralization of power, and they did not want to spread out as God had commanded them to spread out. Okay, the city and the tower would knit together people and provide military security and political domination. Okay, so they were all planned moves. They were all planned moves to build a city just within that ziggurat. Okay, so God did not approve of their plans, because God wanted them to scatter and move around, and God did not like the pride of self-sufficiency and rebellion. So whenever we feel that we are self-sufficient and we can do everything, we become rebellious people, and we have filled with pride. Okay, so God does not like that. So God will accomplish His purpose anyhow. He simply confused the language. So God just played a simple strategy, confused the languages, which made it impossible for them to work together. Now they were having arguments, and now they were not able to understand each other, and the harmony was broken, and they scattered according to their language. The reverse of this is seen in Pentecost. Pentecost, we can see where the when the non they get tongues and they are united, which is the reverse of the confusion that is caused in Babel. Okay. So next thing, we can see the family of we'll move this thing. So this basically, we know the story of Tower of Babel. We did not mention the story, but you would have understood by what I am saying. So these people joined together, and they decide these Babylonians, or these people of Canaan group, they decided that they wanted to build a ziggurat tower, reaching God. It is written reaching God. Okay, so the tower, basically the purpose was to combine all the people together within this tower and live there in that tower. And they did not want to move around, and they wanted to show that they are the most powerful people. So God disapproved their plan, and He scattered them by confusing the language. So this is what is mentioned in the story we just saw. Okay, after that, we see towards the end of chapter 11, we are introduced with a man called Abraham. Okay, so we are introduced with a man called Abraham, the family of Abraham. So, chapter 11, verses 10 to 32, we see the genealogy narrows down. Again, now our focus is going to be on the Semites. Okay, now the focus will move completely from Noah's other sons to the Semitic group, that is the Semites, from where Abraham, the father of the nations or the father of faith, is going to come. Okay, so the biblical author or the author of Genesis now moves his focus from all the sons to the Semitic group and to one man, which is known as Abraham and his family. So the genealogy narrows down from the Semites, narrows down to the Semites, the line of Shem's son Arphaxad, and the record finally focuses on the family of Terah. Okay, probably the most important persons were listed out and the rest were left out. Okay, so the evidence of the cultural sequences in the empire centers and goes back to thousands of years before Abraham. So we can see that the genealogy talks about a lot of people and uh, a lot of ancestors, but we can see that only one people were mentioned and the rest were left out. So the climax of chapter 10 and 11 is the introduction of Abraham. Okay, so we see that a lot of things are happening, and now the story comes to a climax where the author intends to introduce us to a character who is going to actually nullify all these things, and God is going to use him as a new strategy, as a new plan, as a new method to work through him to expand his kingdom. Okay, so there is an introduction of Abraham, who marks the beginning of the chosen nation of Israel. Okay, so we will see about Abraham in the next chapter, in the next unit. So here we can see just a lineage or the tree, the family tree of Terah. Okay, so we can see here Terah had two sons, Abraham and Nahor. The three sons, Abraham, Nahor, and Haran. Sarai was also a half daughter because probably one of the wives of Terah. Okay, so we can see cousin, not even cousin, a half sister to Abraham. Okay, so not of the same mother but different mother. So we can see this, and they both get married, and they have a son called Isaac. And we also see that Abraham also has a relationship with Sarai's servant Hagar, and he gives birth to Ishmael, from where the 12 tribes or the 12 sons come, and the Arabic nation begins from Ishmael. Okay, so then we see towards the end of Abraham's life, we see Keturah. He takes Keturah to be his concubine, and then we see that, sorry, a wife. And then we see she gives birth to Zimran, Jokshan, Medan, Median, Ishbak, and Shuar. So these also become nations. These also become people groups after that. So all these names you will read again and again in the Old Testament when the times of kings come. Okay. Then we see Sarai and Abraham giving birth to Isaac. Isaac marries. Sorry. Then we have Nahor. Nahor has two children, Milcah and Bethuel. Okay, so we can see Milcah and Bethuel. Nahor has two children, Milcah and Bethuel. Sorry, Nahor has Milcah as his daughter in-law, okay, daughter-in-law. And we see that Nahor has one son, Bethuel. Okay, Bethuel marries Milcah, the son of Haran. Okay, Haran has three children, Milcah, Iscah, and Lot. Okay, so Nahor's son Bethuel marries Milcah, the daughter of Haran, and they have children in Rebecca and Laban. Okay, Laban. So now we see Isaac marries Rebecca, and they have two sons, Esau and Jacob. So Esau ends up having descendants in Edomite. They're called Edomites. And then Rebecca has son Jacob. Okay, Rebecca and Isaac's son Jacob. He marries Rachel. Now, who is Rachel? Rachel is Bethuel's uh, granddaughter and Laban's daughter. Okay, so we see Laban has two daughters, Rachel and Leah. So Jacob marries Rachel and Leah, and they are 12 patriarchs. We get a 12 patriarchs, and a daughter is called Dinah. Okay, Haran. After Haran, we can say Haran has Lot, and Lot with his daughters, he gives birth to Moab and Ammon. So basically, these all are nations that we will see in the king's times. Okay, so the children of Jacob, let's see the children of Jacob. So with Leah, Jacob has Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, and Zebulun. With Bilhah, the concubine of Leah, he has Dan and Naphtali. And then with Rachel, he has Joseph and Benjamin. And with the concubine of Rachel, he has Zilpah, he has Gad and Asher. Okay, so these are all the tribes that we can see that come forth. Okay, so this was about the stories before Abraham's time, for the patriarchs. Okay, so after this, we are going to enter into the new unit, the second unit, which will be talking about the patriarchs, that is Abraham, and then Isaac, and then Jacob, and then Joseph. Okay, so we will be doing that. I'll be sending you a recording even on the next chapter, that is the life of Abraham. Okay, so you will be listening to all that also in the next class. Okay, so we will be discussing about all these things on Friday. I will be giving you one character of Joseph as presentation. So all of you will be dividing the character and the chapters on Joseph and presenting your parts about Joseph towards the end of the course. Okay, so I will be taking from Abraham, already starting, you'll be getting the recording today. So Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob I will be dealing with, and the last 2-3 chapters that are about Joseph will be dealt by you all in your presentation. Okay, so see you all soon, and we will meet and we'll discuss about all the things, all the recordings that I'm going to send in this week. And I go through the recordings, go through the notes, and we will discuss about all these things. Make note of the questions if you have, and we will answer those questions also. Thank you, and have a good day.